I would like to begin by acknowledging that I am participating in this event from the traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, and in particular the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. For those attending this session, I also want to acknowledge the Indigenous territories and lands on which you are living and working. Welcome to the third episode of the Future Builders series. I'm Jill Schnarr, the Chief Communications Officer at Telus and your host for today. At Telus, we are passionate about the intersection of social purpose and world-leading technology to drive change and enable remarkable human outcomes. And this is what this series with Elevate is all about. We are all making the future friendly together. Technology, data, and insights are powerful aspects of modern life, changing everything about how we work and learn, how we run our cities and support our communities, and even how we get food to our table. Today, we're talking about technology, our society, and the role of innovation. This past year was like no other, and we were forced to adapt and leverage technology to work, learn, and access healthcare. For example, but probably not a surprise, 58% of Canadians say their use of online services increased greatly, and 2/3 say technology helped them feel less isolated while they've been at home. I know we saw evidence to support that. There was a 40% increase in the use of our video on demand services and a 76% increase in wireless calls. So let's explore how this has changed the trajectory of innovation. To tell us more, we have Brahim Gideon, Chief Technology Officer at Telus. Brahim is one of the technology industry's most eminent thought leaders, even being named one of the 100 most powerful and influential people in the telecoms industry by Global Telecoms Business Magazine 5 times. As Chief Technology Officer for Telus, he is responsible for technology strategy, development, and evolution. Under his leadership, the Telus network has become one of the best in the world. While an engineer by trade, he's also written several books, including 2 cookbooks. So, Brahim, to get us started, you once tweeted that wearing glasses was the key to being a geek. I know this is something you've talked about before. Can you tell us more about it?
I just found out it was, as you were growing up, kids make fun of you when you wear glasses. But I thought it was because you really wanted to see more and understand more and care about it versus ignore what's on the whiteboard and the blackboard. I guess I was a proud 4 eyes, for the lack of a better word, and wear it beautifully.
It's cool to wear glasses now. I mean, it means you're smart, intelligent. You want to know more about what's going on. It's cool to be a geek.
I have to tell you, Jill, since Bill Gates became Bill Gates, we became popular. Like he was the ultimate nerd that everybody consults with.
Well, you guys make the world go round. That's why. All right. So this past year, we saw a huge reliance on technology in our day-to-day lives, from staying connected with loved ones to learning and working from home to accessing healthcare. One might argue 2020 was an exceptional year when it comes to digital transformation and innovation. Would you agree?
100%. I wouldn't say digital transformation because I think it was a digital tsunami, Joe. Like if you look at I'll talk about all the telcos, not just Telus. We tend to compare notes. So we started seeing it in China, then in Europe. So Canada fared much better than a lot of our peers around the world. And for us, it just hit us how undigital our life is. And we had to move fast. If you look at, and this is not an infomercial, people know I'm politically incorrect, but whether it's Babylon Health by Telus or any other technique, people were using WhatsApp and video conferencing to diagnose things like medical issue. And that's why, I mean, it was a tsunami. So we woke up all of a sudden from whether it's a trust and privacy issue, and we're religious about those, like everybody knows the global reputation of Telus in that area. I think it hit us fast and hard, not just digital with the schools, but also you need to be digital to interact properly, right? So people say, oh, well, we have schools online. I know you've got children, so do I got one. Uh, it's unbelievable how you put the assignment on a portal. That's not e-education, that's not online education. So I think to me, and there's a great quote I use, and people say, Brahim, you never talk about the lives lost. We live with the lives lost every day on COVID. But it's critical to talk about what things we need to seize. And there's a good quote by Robin Sharma. He says, by seizing the opportunity that disruption presents and leveraging hard times into greater success through outworking, out innovating, out thinking, and out networking everyone around you, this might be the best time of our lives. So we have to look at the positives, because nobody goes and says COVID is wonderful. It sucks. But I think it's a great opportunity, and you hit the nail on the head. Are we digital? Are we do we have a digital DNA? This is what I tell people. Like, I still go to the supermarket and they say, what's your phone number? That's not the digital Brahim. That's Brahim's phone number, which is great for Telus, because it's a Telus phone number and I interact with the supermarket. But you're bang on. And I think this has woken up everybody as a nation, as engineers, as small, medium business, into saying we need to be digital. And we got to be privacy by design, security by design, because nobody wants to be defrauded in any aspect of it, right? So,
what was our biggest learning last year in how we approach innovation?
I think, Jill, what was really great, because all of a sudden we're all at home, so no commute times, no meetings. I think our industry, all industries, cleared up a lot of backlog. And then I love your question. What about innovation? Because after you clear all the backlog, you said, oh, I have to do new stuff. I have to be innovative. And I think you have to be ready to innovate differently. And I look at the ecosystems. So one thing about Telus, and I will be politically incorrect and you can give me grief later, we were always crazy till we were brilliant. All our life, like, oh, we said we're going to do an all IP network. I think CEOs of our peers made fun of us. And then 10 years later, oh, we should do what Telus is doing. Like, we did the Falcon investment. So we did the same thing with innovation. And you cannot innovate by throwing 10 smart guys in a room. So once you establish that, it's very simple, right? You have to trust, and you have to have what I call piecemeal innovation, whereby, you know what, Jill, what can you innovate by yourself? I'm going to add that to what Brahim can innovate by himself. And then the integration is with a third party or with yet another third person. The old days, so yes, there's a lot of pressure on collaboration. And unlike reports, I think we're all working harder hours, Jill, because we're missing that piece of integration and the tool is not quite there. But as long as I have this and I have this, it's so beautiful to put this together during this time, because we are at our own paces. And I think that is the biggest lesson learned. If you really want to innovate in 2020, and sadly it's looking like in our age group, they're not going to get the job till like friggin' third quarter. Regardless.
Think for yourself. Earlier, we asked some of our viewers to submit their questions on the role of data in society. And let's take a look at a few of those submissions now. So the first question is, of course, it's about 5G. Why is 5G such a big deal?
Okay, so speaking as a Canadian engineer, the birthplace of 5G was Vancouver. The next generation mobile networks in 2014 said, are we done with 4G? And we said, should we disband? And the board meeting that Telus was hosting said, no, we should work on 5G. And the reason it's a big deal, Jill, speaking as a geek or a nerd, I'm proud of both terms. It's the first time in our life as technologists, we actually defined it around customer use cases. To me, it aligns with the Telus DNA. When we talk about customer first, when we talk about our churn, when we talk about relentless ability to delight the customer, this is the first standard in any geek place in the world. Wireless, wireline, digital, friggin' cloud, I don't really care. That says, why don't we start with how we want the actual end user to interact, ingest, digest information. And that's why 5G is a big deal. And people quote me that I keep saying it's a missed opportunity. I think because sometimes Vodafone announces something, Telus needs to announce something. Like, I think our innovative nature as a company and as the engineering, as the technologists tell us, sometimes there's a bit of a nuclear war. You have something, I gotta have something bigger. And I think we're not doing our end clients an advantage. And we are truly customer first. Like, we can try a lot of these things with 4G, they're not pure 5G, but we should never lose track. In the end, somebody saying, oh my God, thank God I got Telus 5G, because rather than it's just a bit faster or a bit slower. And then I don't want to name our competitors who brag about stuff that has no impact on the client. If that's the aim, then great. I got a big house and I can get a big car and I can. So I'm a bit religious, Jill. I know it's politically incorrect, but you're talking. We're talking one to one. So I have to be very honest about this. That's why
Well,
I
that's
love
good.
our 5G.
That's awesome. All right. Well, talking about 5G and the cloud, people talk about how they have their documents in the cloud or their photos in the cloud. Tell us about the cloud and who is really going to benefit from that technology.
So if I may, your initial questions were very germane. Like, the journey that we're all doing is digital as a nation, as enterprises. The next journey we're doing is we realize we don't need to have stuff on-prem. Like, you don't need to own your stuff. So for you to listen to music, so Jill, I come from the era where I had massive server. I'm a geek, right? So I built my own amplifiers, I built my own servers. Now I'm pretty happy with Spotify. So that is a cloud service. I'm simplifying it for a simple reason. That's one of them. But the day that Spotify becomes late is the day that this geek would go back to start putting stuff in their house. So cloud is very critical for us because we become renters rather than owning everything. And sometimes when you want to try something for a month, you're not straddled with the cost and the price. So the cloud is brilliant for subscribers, for enterprises. And then what 5G does, actually, it's a bridge to the cloud. So you get your local cloud, you get your centralized cloud, you can go to a server in the UK, in Malaysia, but also you can put one in your basement if you choose to. So this is the beauty of 5G and cloud. So I think it's benefiting all of us. You can do cloud for the sake of cloud, which is stupid. That should be a university research project. But there's a lot of benefits. Like, I don't think a lot of us realize how much we depend on non-resident content, for the lack of a better word.
In this series, we're talking about technology and its application in the real world. To help us envision what that means, we're providing each guest in our series with a real world scenario to demonstrate how technology can positively impact our lives. So, if you could magically add one capability to every mobile device in the world overnight to make the world a better place, what would it be and why?
So it's not a button, but I would tell you what I noticed when we talk about how undigital we are as a nation or the world. Like, Jill, there's also a bit of app pollution. I would like a citizen app that we work jointly between the health authorities and the governments, whereby it keeps track of Brahim's vaccine. I don't need another app when I fly. Like, I'm going to go see my parents for Easter. My mother's very religious, and I'm going to Montreal to spend Easter. I need an Air Canada app with my own contact tracing. So I think what is missing a little bit is in the effort, and it's not a Telus business. We're a fantastic enabler that does a lot of stuff for good. And if you look at the work we're doing with 5G for good, it's, I think, unparalleled in the world. But at the end of the day, I think what we would like, I'd like my convenience. Like, I don't need 17 apps. I'd like one that keeps track of things. I'd like it to be trusted. I'd like it to take care of, have my vaccine, have my boarding pass. And I think it involves a bit of maturity, as you said. Like, you know what? It's Air Canada and WestJet can give me the same boarding pass. They're not really competing. I pick my choices. So we need to get to that level of collaboration. And if I had one thing to do, I think that would move us forward as an industry. But it's similar to what I think we're trying to do, to say, there's a Telus ecosystem. It has to work with the rest of the world. And I think that's part of our strategy, like what we're doing with what we call service delivery frameworks on the technical side. We're here to onboard partners. Like we were the first to do Netflix in the world. Not that we don't like to sell you very expensive content, but if you want Netflix, we should onboard Netflix. We have Amazon Prime. And I think it's a direction we've taken as a company that I'd like to take to the subscriber on steroids. So if I had one wish, I would love that. Like I go to BC. Let's say I go see you when we have lunch. I have another contact tracing app. Like how stupid is that? And then I go see my mother in Montreal. Yet a third contact tracing app. That's just one small thing. So I think we need to get together to solve that. So if I had one capability I would add, it is my digital identity. Not just Telus. We have a great identity at Telus, but I want my digital identity as a Canadian, as a father of one child, as a guy who loves to cook, that to interact with the cooking world, with the parenting world, with the medical world. So that, but I'm very passionate about, we should get our stuff together.
Let's talk about the next 5 years. What can we expect to see change?
I think there's 3 things. One, there's our DNA as human beings. So I'm really sorry, but we got to think green. We got to think the environment. So that's one. 2, as much as I love my office, and you've seen my office, I really like the space and all that stuff. I think offices have been redefined. So we need to think of what tools, what collaboration, like the whole industry. So technology, we, the geeks, owe it to the world to do it. We need to think of how do we collaborate moving forward? How do we innovate moving forward? How do we take 1 + 1 + 1 in a piecemeal fashion, put it together and make it 5, not 3? So that's the challenge. That's the second challenge. And the third, which I'm uber passionate about, is I think you'll see personalization in a very different way. So today, if you have an iPhone, you have the Apple experience powered by Telus, for example. So I think what's changing is you will end up having the Jill experience on an iPhone powered by Telus. And that's where what's changing. I can talk about hardware because actually I'm an geek and I love it. I think you'll see a lot more foldable phones or bendable phones. And those are cool. Like today, when I go on a trip, I take my device and I take my pad to watch movies on one because as much as cool as this is and as big as it is, you're not going to watch to get experience, right? So I think eventually, why don't I just flip it into twice the size and it's one device. So I think you'll see a lot of innovation on hardware. We're doing a lot of work that I'm really excited about on powering down base station. Like, well, Canada is very resource rich, but it doesn't mean we should waste water, we should waste power, we should waste gas. It's a whole global thing. So why not shut power down? How do I make my network smart that, you know what, there's nobody around in this area, shut everything down. I think Jill's coming by. Turn the network on. So these little things, we've incorporated a lot of them in the Telus network, but we should put them on steroids, right? Like I don't need Greta Thunberg to tell me we're polluting the earth. We owe it to the earth to do something. So you take these 3 together, you'll see a lot of really cool stuff coming out. Collaboration tools on defining how the employee works, being really green in a sustainable way, not just we recycle, like it's not good enough. And last but not least, you'll see a lot of these improvements and advancement in personalization. Sorry, I'm over talking, but you can sense I'm pretty passionate. Like I've never lived in a more exciting time.
You're very passionate about it. No, that's amazing. And I love actually the fact that you led with climate change. I really believe that innovation will drive a lot of leadership in our green approaches, in what we can do to go to 100% of electricity from all alternative sources. I think you're right. We owe it to the earth and ourselves and the youth of the future to do things in a much more sustainable, healthier way as we go forward. So let's go back to 5G. You've said that we're using 5G wrong. So what did you mean by that?
Well, with Jill, I briefly alluded to it, that we were so busy everybody wanted to announce 5G. Everybody in the globe wanted to talk about 5G. Very few people know that I think we still have the world record for the fastest 5G, but we never bragged about it. I never press released it. Didn't ask you for permission because I think it's stupid. What does it do to the subscriber? If you are a customer centric, forget about cloud, forget about 5G, but if you actually care about what you deliver to your end clients and subscribers, who are your parents and your children and your neighbors and your businesses, why the hell would they care? But we all end up drawing, like the media, oh my God, Rogers launched a standalone 5G core. I have a lot of respect for my colleagues at Rogers, but the fact that your device can't use it till the summer, do you really care? So I think what I mean by wrong is, for the first time in our lives, the technologists did not do technology for technology's sake. They actually thought of customer use cases, self-driving cars, smart cities. It's really social good, like sustainable energy, right? And then we maybe us, the operators and the vendors, just rushed and did same old, same old. So I'm a little bit disappointed in myself and my peers that there's more we could do with 5G, right? Like I live in Alberta, as you know, and it does get to -50. I would love that ultra low latency. It's not a bullshit science experiment. I would love for people who don't have to be in trucks in Fort McMurray at -50 and -70, if we can get ultra low latency right, that is 4G. That is what we're doing with a lot of our clients. But that's what I mean, 5G done right, and it's not easy. But then innovation is not easy, and you're going to try things, and you're going to keep tweaking them and failing. So I'm disappointed in my industry for doing same old, to be completely blunt, and I'm vocal about it, yes. It's a missed opportunity, Joe.
Yeah, no kidding. But you just nailed it about innovation, right? It's all about trying new things and making mistakes and trying again. And, eventually you hit the nail on the head. So I think it's okay. We can continue to make mistakes here, but hopefully we're moving ahead in the right direction with 5G.
Cool.
So last question. Walk us through your vision for streamlined digitization and what that means for the average person. What does it mean on a larger scale?
If I may, you cannot talk about digitization without talking about you. So digitizing you is like getting the DNA version of how you interact and how networking and how your business relationships can come together. So when we talk about what do we mean by streamlined digitization, being digital, like the reason that I love what we're doing at Telus, we didn't just put a web page. We actually digitized our end-to-end process from the time you order a mobile phone or you order an optic TV. So I think you need to think of your digital DNA. And that would be phase one for companies that go beyond an app and beyond the web page. So the next step is being alone in this digital world means nothing. Then you're the crazy guy. So when we talk about streamlining digitization, I believe a lot of our peers and a lot of our partners that our end subscribers interact with are down the same journey. So there was a point in time where how does your Telus persona or your Telus digital identity work with your, let's say, like I'm a Bank of Montreal, not just because I come from Montreal, but a Bank of Montreal client. How does that work with your Bank of Montreal digital identity? As you know, I cook, I love to cook. It's great, very fulfilling. How does that work with my cooking channel digital identity? So that'd be what I call Gen 2 or Gen 3 of the digital journey for the next couple of years. And it will only scale when your bank, when Jill Schnarr believes she owns her identity and pieces of her are interacting with her bank. And then should you choose you want your bank to interact with Telus, then you put them together. That is the beauty. That'll be like the third phase of what's happening. But I am hopeful. As you said, out of this travesty of deaths and sicknesses, we learned that we need to do this. Your bank does not own you. You own your bank. You own your optic. You own your stuff, and that's going to come together. And that's why I'm excited about digital. And to me, it's just a vehicle. The end destination is, how is it more convenient for us? How do we, as we stay more at home, interact? As our offices get redefined, how do your kids actually get educated online, this virtual reality? So we've got to think bigger than I have a portal. To me, that's digital 1.0 minus. It's not even phase one. Anyway, I'm very passionate. I'm really excited. I think the key thing is we can't all be digital alone, which is the beauty of what we, I think, are doing at Telus. And I'm speaking at the CIO conference for Canada. We're ready to help. Like, we have a great digital team. As you know, we have a great development team with our IT assets. Let us help you, because it makes Canada better. It makes us more competitive as a nation. It makes better Canadians, for God's sake. I want that.
It makes Canada better. I love it. What a great quote to end this segment with. Well, we're all a part of this digital transformation, and it's exciting to think about the ways that we can apply technology to build a better future for Canadians, for our businesses, our families, and our society as a whole. It's been fascinating. Thank you so much, Brahim. You're always an amazing and very unique guest. And thank you to everyone joining us today. To learn more about how Telus brings together technology and society, please start with a visit to telus.com. And we hope to see you for our next episode on Home is Where Connection Starts on May 5th. To register, visit elevate.ca. And if you have a minute, please complete our feedback survey. Thanks and have a great day.